let's try to finish that piece of watermelon first, Britt. That's probably like the most annoying sound to hear is people eating on the mic, just mouth noises.
Delicious. Have you seen that ASMR videos where people like
my nigga? Yeah. Yo, Jazz put me on that. Yo, that
I
shit
don't know
is
how
ridiculous.
that's a thing. People like that shit.
I guess some things
right?
It's like
strange.
Pleasing. Some things is
guess.
pleasing, but some stuff is just gross. Like, ugh.
I guess like the crunching I can take, but when you get to the smacking,
it's not just people eating though. It'd be like people like popping
like,
bubbles,
scratching and shit. It's weird.
People are odd.
Yeah, people are very odd.
They're really odd. But they be having like mad followers. It'd be like,
I know. That's why I was like, people are strange.
I remember we was watching this one. It was just like a girl whispering.
Yes.
Right.
Bitch, shut the fuck up.
Right. Oh man. All right. How you want to start this one, man? This is a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stuff to explain.
Okay. So today we are going to get into a possibly pretty touchy topic, but also it's very clever the way you threw this together. Yes.
Yeah. We want all the smoke.
All the smoke. I don't want no smoke. It's like, no, I'm ready. Whatever. I mean, it's facts. So people can be mad, but it's something that we all do. It's not like, you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say it's facts. I think it's still an opinion, but if you can relate, I think a lot of people can relate.
But like I was just saying, I mean, we all do this stuff too, because we've all had moments where we have displayed some sort of activist behavior.
Yeah, right.
And it took me a minute when you first explained it to me to even understand what you meant. I was like, what are you saying? Activist? What? Huh?
Yeah, I think when I was trying to explain it to you, I didn't sort it out yet. Like, so I'm trying to I was still trying to reach, and this comes from like just having conversations with you, conversations with friends. So I was still like pulling and trying to figure out how can I best explain this idea I'm having, or this stuff that I have from observation of just what's going on as far as like, social media and the effect of the internet and how communication has been affected.
Right. But I also think just me being kind of basic sometimes, I literally needed it spelled out for me. I
think you text me like 3 days later and you were like, oh, active, I get it.
Oh my God. Right. I was like, really, Britt? Like that took you mad long to understand because I kept blowing you off. I was just like, nah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. And then I was like, oh, that's genius. Okay, sorry. Sorry for doubting you, my friend.
Thank you. I mean, it's all right. We all have our moments.
Plenty.
All right, so I'm going to try to work through this. Like, I literally had to, write an entire essay in order to get all my thoughts out. And then I had to try to find a way to organize it to relay the information to you guys. So hopefully you can follow along. Britt's going to kind of monitor when I get off track or bring me back to wherever we was at. But I'm going to start like this, right? We can all agree that social media is like the main source of information. And in some ways it's a good thing, and in other ways it's problematic. So we've seen it manipulated by self-interest groups, the Facebook hack, Trump campaign. We've seen it play vital roles in social organizing, Black Lives Matter, the feminist movement, the LB, I don't even know how to say it. I don't know the letters.
LGBTQ. Right? That's all. I mean, I know there are a few extras. I'm sorry. I do not know them, and I don't want to say the wrong letters, but no disrespect. No disrespect
at all. So we've seen it also used to ostracize people for radical beliefs. We've seen it used as a platform, and we've also witnessed that same platform crumble down when an individual or group has been outed for wrongdoing. But the reason for that is because the internet is as ever-changing as life itself, but the possibilities are as limitless as they are restricting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you could do anything at the same time. It's like there are like boundaries and parameters and so many different ways, to section off things, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that, right? So I think the best way to start it off is, do you know what Dunbar's number is? You ever heard of Dunbar's number?
I don't think so.
All right. So Dunbar's number is a suggested cognitive limit to the number of people with whom one can maintain a stable social relationship. So these are relationships that an individual knows who each person is and how they relate to every other person.
Okay.
All right.
That makes sense.
So it's roughly like 150 people. So technically, you only have the hard drive in your brain to keep track of 150 people. Anything outside of that is kind of like an acquaintance. You know, it's only so much. And it's expected that this number is 150 is like roughly tribal size. And we're all tribal by nature, right? Mm-hmm. So our inclination is to find like-minded individuals to identify with that possess the same viewpoint, whether it's philosophical, religious, gender identity, political ideology, etc. Mm-hmm. And all throughout history, our reach has been limited to the technology at the time. The internet, in essence, is an amplifier that propels these ideas worldwide without limitation.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I always wondered that, like, especially like, well, in the early days of Facebook, and you know, you see people with like 1,000 friends. Like, this is before it was like common, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing with 1,000? Like, come on.
You remember that?
I remember like when I was first like started happening, and it's like, how the fuck do you have 1,000 friends? Like, what do you do? You don't know all those people. There's no way like you can even, and that's the thing too. It's like, how can you even online, you can't keep up with that many people. Like, they're not going to be in your timeline. It's just way too many people. You can't see that much information in one day. Exactly. So that definitely makes sense.
So if Dunbar's number holds true, our biology hasn't caught up to the new technology that's been presented to us. Mm-hmm. Right? So enter in a word or a phrase that I heard, mind wide web.
Okay.
So I heard this. It was used for something totally different, but I thought it'd be perfect to repurpose it for.
What'd you hear it from originally?
I think it was some podcast. It was some podcast, and the guy was
what were they talking about?
I don't know. He was like a neuroscientist. I have no idea. I have zero idea.
Was it just like how all the nerves are connected and shit in the system?
I don't remember. I totally.
Okay. Well, I guess. I mean, that's the best sense I can make of it. But continue.
Right. All right. So our social media community is the one we created for ourselves. Mm-hmm. We are the aggregators of its content, and we choose what we would like to expose ourselves to. Like, literally, we follow who we want to follow, and we like what we like based on our own values and preference. So, like, we're kind of gods. Like, we're kind of the gods of our social media, internet presence. Yeah, like, we are the gatekeepers to the information we see. And I think a lot of times that gets overlooked even by myself.
You are banished.
Right? Right, straight up. Infidel. Right? So while the internet, like, is endless in its access to ideas, our preferences turn our internet experience into like a insulated world, like an idea island, right? Mm-hmm. A steady rotation of the same thoughts, opinions, and I think that's kind of just our biological need for camaraderie, or our biological need to be around people who have the same ideas, values, skill set, all that stuff, right?
Right, and what makes us comfortable, doesn't...
Yeah, exactly.
Rock the boat.
That's, I'm happy you pointed that out. Like, we create a space where, or our internet experience is a space where we feel the most comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, in this virtual community, our minds are kind of like, I don't know, like, just webbed together, kind of like mushed together, where we created this world that as long as I'm in accordance of the accepted behavior or speech or form of expression, I'm always welcome. Mm-hmm. I'm always welcome in this world. Like, my followers are always going to follow me as long as I keep presenting them the things that they initially followed me for.
Okay.
But any infiltration of like a contrasting idea, it literally is like an infiltration. Like anything that slips through the creeks or slips past the guards that we set up and all that, right? The moat, right? Is either dismissed, trivialized, or attacked instantly. Right? So it begs the question,
The blood vessel about to burst. What is
exactly.
this?
Exactly, right? So it begs the question, like, was whatever made it through, was it analyzed objectively, or was it sifted out for possible truths? Or have we developed so reactionary a phrase or a statement can prevent us from exploring the depths of complex issues? So, Britt, I'm gonna need the disclaimer. Yeah, the folks need the disclaimer.
All right. Okay. The views and opinions expressed by Kanye West do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the good folks here at BZ Podcast.
Oh, one time for the back. One more.
All right. Once again, the views and opinions expressed by Kanye West do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the good folks here at BZ Podcast.
Thank you. I hope that was clear.
Yes,
all right. So I'm going to use Kanye as an example. And the more, I wrote this a little while ago, but the more and more this Kanye situation plays out, the more I'm just seeing how vital he's like the perfect person to analyze this type of behavior with, right?
And I'm proud of how much we've grown, because remember I used to just like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, right. Right.
And it's funny because I was totally having a moment of the things that we're talking about. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. It was stressing me out. I was just like, no, you're infiltrating me, Isaiah. I don't want to talk about him. I don't even know what to think. I'm irritated. It's a lot going on. I don't even know what kind of opinion to have about this. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad,
immediately
I was not having it. I was, reacting like everyone else. But I also, too, is just like, I didn't know, because you never know, too, with these celebrities, what's really going on. You never see the full story and stuff. So it's like, it was hard. Like, I was irritated like everyone else. Well, not everyone else, but most people. But it's also still hard to really form an opinion because we don't really know the true story. And of course, weeks going by, you start seeing, more
stuff trickle
of what's
out.
actually going on.
Nah. So I'm going to use Kanye as an example, right? We heard it. He said slavery was a choice. There's a million things wrong with that statement. And I don't even think we need to get into what's wrong with that statement. But what I took away from it, and what I think is a true statement for myself, my own opinion, I'll sum it up with this, that you cannot dissolve a complex and emotionally triggering issue into 4 words, right? Slavery was a choice is 4 words. That's where I go, all right, that's just intellectually lazy. It's lazy. You're not treating it with respect, right? Now, when things usually happen, I usually stay away from posting, like I'm the lurkers of all lurkers online. Like I much rather just see the reaction of everybody else. And then I probably stay in my head a little too long than I should. And I think it's like based out of fear of being misunderstood or just not being calculated enough. Right. So I like to give myself time to process things. And as I'm giving myself time, I come across this post from David Banner. David Banner, the rapper. And he said, watch your spirit, guard your spirit right now. There's some shit going on a high level. Be slow to anger, be slow to conflict, be slow to comment on shit, be watchful, watch the people you're around, watch the conversations you engage in. And that shit kind of resonated with me. That kind of made me double down on, let me not be too quick to say my piece about this. So while I'm practicing restraint, trying to fight off my own knee-jerk tendency, the virtual community, which I created, I'm taking full responsibility for creating my own world, because in essence, that's what we're all doing. I found it interesting in like the sea of posts and IG stories, the same response was getting regurgitated over and over again. The same response. You heard it like Kanye Kardashian. Oh, he went and got lipo. He's a real Kardashian now, All these pop culture references and memes floating around with no respect to the complexity of the initial statement. So if Kanye's response is lazy, or if Kanye's statement was intellectually lazy, I believe the rebuttals and stuff that I was seeing were lazy as well. Kanye's in a sunken place. That's not groundbreaking to me. You know what I'm saying? Right? That's not groundbreaking. So I feel that information comes and goes so fast that everybody rushes to comment before forming their own opinion. Emphasis on own. it's easier to grab a neatly packaged meme and prove that you're a part of this tribe.
Yeah.
That you've created, and then go about your day and not really sit down with the issue and come to your own conclusion. So not by any means am I suggesting that you wouldn't come to the same conclusion, but at least on this process, you're acknowledging that you're an individual and capable of forming an opinion outside of influence.
Yeah.
If you can acknowledge that Kanye's forward statement fails to address the complexity of the issue, it would be disingenuous to assume that the rebuttal can be summed up in a meme or a post.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So another disturbing post I came across around this time is went something like this. It said, if you can align yourself in any capacity with what Kanye West said, fuck you and your free thinking ass. Which makes me laugh. Like, no lie. It makes me laugh. But I'm like, really?
You're right,
really?
Right.
Like,
that was worded very lazily as well.
Yeah, I'm like fuck free thinking.
It was like, yeah, okay.
Free thinking, fuck it. Like, the whole thing.
All right. Be a sheep.
Right? Straight up.
The herd.
Right?
So it's like, I mean, all free thinking doesn't mean that necessarily. Like, free thinking is such a broad. Yeah, that's what I'm just like, dude, that was pretty lazy.
Yeah. And I feel like it was more posed to just show how strongly I am against this thing in this, like, limited space or time that I can address this, which is a post while somebody's just scrolling through. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want it to stick out as much as possible.
Right.
But like,
and at the end of the day, for what?
Yeah, I mean,
for what?
That's another thing. So, I mean, obviously this person meant that type of free thinking, but the post, I feel, goes to show just how reactionary we've become and how much effective communication has been lost. So it's like, are you listening and analyzing the statement, or are you just waiting for your chance to speak?
Mm-hmm.
This thing called communication, you know, like, it's getting lost. In our efforts to keep up with the fast-paced tribal idea island of this self-created virtual community, communication's been boiled down to pictures and memes, emotions down to emojis, just all designed to communicate faster. Like, if you look, like, a dick is an eggplant. It's right. Just unanimously agreed that right, if like you what? Put up an eggplant, it is a penis reference, you know? Yeah. And that's fine when you're talking about a penis or you're talking about something that has no implications down the road, but this style of communication is being used to cover issues of like monumental importance that have real life consequences. You remember when he initially said that statement, there was more to the video. When he got into the conversation with the guy, the guy that was working at TMZ. Mm-hmm. And they ended up handshaking and Kanye apologized, you know, and I think that gets lost just with how polarizing the statement was.
Well, yeah, and I mean, a lot of people too didn't watch the full thing. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't either, because I was just like, I don't even care about anything he has to say right now.
Yeah.
You know, I was being shady. And
I don't think you were being shady.
Like, it was though, because it was bothering me and I didn't want to hear nothing else about it. You know what I mean? So I didn't even want to hear nothing he had to say. Like, I didn't listen to the Charlemagne interview, nothing. And even my husband was like, you know, hey, why don't you? And I was like, nah.
Yeah, no.
So I needed a moment.
Yeah.
But
that's good. But no, that's the thing. The moment is good. Take your moment. Please take a moment. Because everybody's reacting so fast. What were you about to say though?
Oh, then I was going to get into, you know, what recently we've been discussing. So, and I came across it just by chance. Like, I kind of like to just let things flow. So, when we hung out, you were playing his album and, you know, it's not too bad. So then, because we were talking and stuff.
Hold on. I'm
gonna get to it. I'm talking about my initial reaction. I'm gonna get to it. Because I was still being like a little, you know, I still got a little guard up. Because I ain't really fooled with Kanye for a minute. Like, since, like, late registration. Graduation, I was like, okay.
His best album, Late Registration.
Late Registration, that's the shit. But ever since then, I've just been kind of like, not feeling it. So, and anybody can fight me on it. I don't care. Like, just not my cup of tea, like whatever. And just in general, Gemini men just work my nerve. Just work my last nerve. So there's also some bias, but anyway.
Okay. At least you admit it.
Yes, totally. So anyway, so, you know, you're playing the album. We were talking and stuff. So, you know, not really hearing everything. But I know we both kind of just like stopped talking when he made that song about his daughter. We're just like, yo, like, this is pretty tight. Like,
yeah, this is a really good song.
Right. So then I'm like, all right, because then you kept talking about the album. So I'm like, all right, let me download it. So I didn't even know what his album was called. Like, so I was Googling it, and then I came across a CNN article. And I'm like, what the hell CNN got to say about him? So I'm just like, whatever. I clicked on it. So then they had linked on there or embedded on the article interview with him and Big Boy, you know, Big Boy on the radio show, not from Outkast. But during the interview, he was saying that pretty much he went back and reworked the album because of the reaction he got. So he took off a few lines that he knew would be problematic, and just to better explain himself, you know, I guess he switched up some of the things on the album because, of course, he was misunderstood because, you know, just having diarrhea of the mouth. And and then he talked about, you know, being diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 39. And so that's pretty major. And just kind of, you know, just saying that basically he's saying that he's listening, you know, like he didn't go on social media, which was probably a good thing, and, you know, have a big rebuttal and a fight back and all that type of Donald Trump stuff. And he used it, you know, like he said, he used all that energy and put it into the album and reworked a lot of things. And it's a really honest album. Like, if you're really listening to the words of it, like, I was like, and it's funny. Like, I miss Kanye being funny. Like, he has a lot of lines on that album that I was like fucking cracking up. I was like, okay, like, right? I miss this. So it's like everybody saying they want old Kanye back. Like, I mean, it's there. Like,
yeah, for real.
Yeah, I was cracking up. He said something like he talks like he drinks too much wine. I was like, yeah. And then the song where I think it was a song that he wrote for Kim where he was saying like, basically, she called him up after the TMZ shit. It's like, yo, we about to lose everything. Like, what are you doing? Like, and he was just telling her, like, you can leave me right now. Like, I understand, you know?
Yeah.
And him basically, you know, like, he having a mental disorder. That shit's serious. And people are talking about sunken place. I mean, it legit, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's actually not something to really joke about when he literally is on medication. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, people want to, you know, we talked about this too, how people are so, you know, into being advocates for mental health and, you know what I'm saying, how serious it is and things like that. So it's like, you know, you really should watch what you say and who you're talking about before you really know what somebody's going through.
I thought it was interesting how, you know, you were just saying people are being advocates. You're seeing it talked about more and more, mental health and how serious it is. And we just lost Anthony Bourdain, and he suffered from mental illness. And I would see a lot of people post up in support saying, yeah, that's why mental illness is a really serious thing.
Right.
Kanye just admitted that he had mental illness.
Right.
Does he get the same fortitude? And it's easy to post. It's easy to post when it's not in front of you. But like, I know bipolar people.
Yeah.
Kanye having that diarrhea of the mouth that you just said, that is a normal occurrence.
That's why I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Yes. And I mean, you know, I deal with this stuff all the time at the school I work at. So that just made me have so much compassion. And I'm just like, I felt like a dick, like, because it's just by chance I came across that interview. And I haven't seen anywhere where it was, I don't know if that was the first time he said that because I haven't really watched anything. But I think that a lot of people who are still saying, you know, fuck Kanye and stuff like that don't even really know that he's legit, you know, he legit has a mental disorder, like, and he's on medication. And I saw some picture, I don't know if it was a story on IG or what it was, but somebody was kind of like zooming in on his face because his face looked a little spaced out. And I guess they were trying to make a joke about it, but it's like, if you're on those medications, you know, it does kind of zone you out, and it's like, it's not really funny. So, you know, it's just like my whole perspective has changed completely on him. And I'm just so happy that I saw that interview. You know what I mean?
And you know, the thing is, you didn't go out of your way to see that interview.
Yeah, just
some people,
slap me in
you
the face.
happen to come across it, but some people are blocking themselves off to anything Kanye. And like, we're talking about Kanye, we're using him as an example, but this just goes
because this
broad.
is just a
like,
prime example. And Anthony Bourdain. We were saying, like, because I was like, when we were talking about it, and we were like, hey, if Kanye killed himself, everyone would be, oh my God, this is why mental illness is important, da 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 da. And it's like, okay, so how about we not wait until it gets to that point and stop tearing him down? But you know what I'm saying? While he's still here, y'all, whatever, y'all get what I mean. I'm about to get worked up.
Don't get worked up.
About to get worked up.
Don't get triggered. All right, so let me jump back into this, right? So here comes Apptivist, right? Mm-hmm. You still on the notes, Britt?
Yes, sir.
Maybe you read the definition of Apptivist. I came up with the definition of Apptivist.
Okay. It is a noun. Born during the repost era, a person who uses social media to campaign in hopes to bring about political or social change.
Notice that it is a noun, so this isn't meant to be derogatory in any nature, and I think we all have Apptivist tendencies. Like, I post things from time to time that I want to draw attention to.
Right.
But we follow them, we wait to come across their posts whenever something big happens. We repost what we identify with, and we applaud their perspective. They are heaven sent. You like how I keep playing to God and stuff like that, because we are the gods of our universe. We we are the sheep. We follow people that are going to lead us to the promised land. So they are heaven sent, the people we follow. They are a personal reflection of our own ideas. That's what drew us to them in the first place, because if they weren't these things, we wouldn't have followed them.
Right.
As simple as that. So I've come to the conclusion that these idea islands can be problematic when it comes to activist tendencies. Apptivist, right? I believe that we are not inherently good or evil. I think we're born neutral. It's a mixture of experiences and environments that shape our moral compasses, wow, and influence our decision making. So by this logic, anyone can be Hitler. Anyone can be the polar opposite given the right circumstances. But the one thing, so let's say like the polar opposite is Martin Luther King. The one thing Hitler and Martin Luther King have in common is that they are effective communicators.
Right.
Good, bad, or indifferent. The difference between now and then is that their audience grew organically in the real world. It stemmed from the efforts that they put forth in the real world, not this self-created virtual community called the internet. They didn't have hashtags. There was it's the truth though. It's the truth.
I know. I'm just like
they don't have this. They can't throw a hashtag and tap into a built-in audience that's already there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyone who joined the cause did so because they believed what was being said and they were actually in front. It's different to just be throwing your idea in the pond of the internet and not seeing people's reactions in real time. You're not seeing facial changes. You're not seeing nothing. You're kind of just throwing it out there. So this is where I think internet activism is very limited, right? Because as I pointed out previously, the virtual world only attracts like-minded individuals. Rarely does anyone go out of their way to follow what they don't relate to. The interview that you came across with Kanye, that kind of gave you more context of what was going on, and when he said he was bipolar and stuff, you wouldn't have seen that if you didn't open yourself up to see that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
So how can you really be how can we really say we're about inspiring change when the only people we're reaching are the ones that agree with us already? If you're only preaching to your followers already pledged allegiance. Like, they already said they was down with the cause. It's my belief that it's the responsibility of the activist, myself, yourself, anybody who's throwing ideas out in the world, to communicate effectively on a level that not only appeals to those who hold the same position, but even more so to those that do not. Because if you don't do that, I can call your motives into question.
This incestuous community.
Same thing, right? So like, if the practitioner of this doesn't understand the importance of effective communication, that person's either lazy, does not realize the importance of the cause in which they say they're all about, or only doing it for notoriety or self-gratification. And that's only getting powered with every double tap, share, and follow. Why would your target audience be made up of people that you already targeted and got? All right. You should kind of make it your duty to speak and appeal to the individuals you want to reach and convert.
Like the missionaries and the Jehovah's Witnesses.
But at least they going door to door. They going door to door. They're not just running into other people that already think the same thing.
Talking to
it's like preaching to the choir.
People in their community already.
So with communication being boiled down so much, oftentimes our conversation starters are clickbait. More poised to trigger a reaction than to get a point across. Like we tend to lead with inflammatory statements rather than the explanation. We start with the punchline rather than the setup. Any attention is good attention, even if it's to the detriment of our intentions. Slavery was not a choice, right? It was not a choice.
Right.
But slave mentality was a real thing and still is a real thing.
Yeah.
Harriet Tubman said, I did some research. I found out that she probably didn't say this, but she said, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. Right? The sentiment is still there. Even if she said it or not, that's a real thing. Right? We've all heard this idea about slave mentality. And we've all pretty much accepted it. Like we've talked about it in other ways, but we've only accepted it when it's presented in a way that appeals to our sensibilities. When it's not as polarizing. If it is a sensitive subject, you should probably approach it with sensitivity in mind.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Pretty much.
I know a lot of people are still boycotting the album. And we were laughing because as we were listening to the album more and more, like we would text each other throughout the week and be like, yo, this album's pretty dope. And usually when an album comes out and it's dope, you know, you take the screenshot and you post it that's showing everybody you listen to it. I didn't want to do that.
I know, because it's like you gotta give a disclaimer or an explanation with it.
Because all of a sudden you're grouped. All of a sudden you said slavery was a choice. You know what I'm saying? But what I said to you earlier, like weeks ago, I said, if Kanye had the articulation skills of a T.I., there wouldn't have been this much backlash.
Yeah.
You know, T.I., if you ever heard him speak, man, T.I. is very well spoken. And he's going to lead with love. And he's going to speak to your sensibilities. It's not going to just hit you with a polarizing statement, you know?
Right.
I kind of liken it like when you argue with somebody, or you're arguing with your significant other, and the argument, or a discussion that gets heated. It escalates, and then somebody says something that knows it's going to trigger a reaction.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And at that point, whatever y'all initially were talking about is gone.
Yeah.
The opportunity to express yourself and get your point across is gone, right? Right after you made that remark, ain't shit getting through.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. It's fuck you, your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, your cousin, the dog, the cat, the fish, everybody can get it, right?
Fuck the fish though.
So like it's almost in this case they're boycotting the album and labeling anyone who listens to it an enemy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't welcome conversation. And if you're really trying to make your mark, or you're really trying to push something and change the world, you need to welcome conversations.
Right.
You can't shut off these channels of communication because they're better served to remain open if the cause is more important to you than posturing online.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Than just showing your congregation that you shun this individual and all is still perfect in this virtual community that we live in. And, you know, the real world is still messed up.
Yep.
I think that's why it was kind of so betraying when Kanye West said that, because like we kind of welcomed this nigga in our homes. Like, we knew he was a little crazy, but he was our crazy.
Right.
He was our crazy guy. Beyonce did have the best video of the year. You know what I'm saying? George Bush didn't care about black people. We were saying that amongst each other forever, when he said it publicly. Right. So like all these things still hold true.
Right. And like how that was the one thing that I think that made me click on the Big Boy interview, because there was like a little caption and it said that Kanye basically said like, y'all been with me like 15, 18 years. Like, I'm family. Like, y'all can't get rid of me. And I mean, it's true. You don't always agree with your family. You fight and fuss. They might be a little crazy, but they still family.
Exactly. And what's funny, I thought of this the other day, like, not for nothing, like, Ye has been Black Trump for years, as far as like just saying the first thing that comes out of his mouth.
Yeah. 2 Gemini men. Their birthdays are 8 week apart. Yeah.
Right. So, but it was all good. It was all good until it was against what we believe, or it turned into something that was turned towards us. It's almost like who let him in who let him here? Who let him in here? Like, how'd you get in here? This endless stream of scrolling down our timelines and getting all this affirmation, that one thing that goes against the grain, or that one thing is not exactly aligning with us, it becomes that much more polarizing.
Yeah.
This idea, it could be anything. It becomes that much more triggering because we're not opening ourselves up to different ideas. We're building this world and keeping it so insulated and almost shunning anybody who isn't a part of this virtual tribe that we got, that no different information is coming in.
Right.
We have to learn how to coexist with people that don't agree on every issue.
Right. Yeah. It's tough sometimes.
It is. It's really hard. It's really hard. But we should go out of our way to expose ourselves to contrasting ideas. We should train ourselves to be able to hear such an opinion and not become so emotionally triggered,
right,
but equipped to engage in conversation to expose the flaws of that thinking.
Exactly.
And that's really hard.
Totally ego driven. I'm right and you're wrong. How do you know you're right? Like, it's opinion most times.
Exactly.
It's everybody's reality is different. Everybody's experience is different. Everyone has a different past. Like, come on. We all have different experiences, and so we can't ever say that I'm 100% right and you're 100% wrong. That's why I always thought religion was very confusing, but that's for another topic.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But oftentimes it just turns into exile. Oftentimes it turns into like, cast his ass away or cast that person away.
Banish him.
You can you can block people online, right? You ain't blocking no one in real life, son.
Except for on Black Mirror. Sorry.
Right? Right? But like, we got to start asking ourselves, like, when we kick people out of our worlds, or we shun these people, or throw them into exile, or, or just ridicule them, where do they go?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't just disappear, sometimes that makes people double down on the thing that got them in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's not what you want. Like, you want to try to get them to see your point of view, and maybe you guys can find some common ground. But if you shut off communication all the way together, then you're kind of only creating division, the thing that you're
it's kind of that
against.
Rebel behavior or mentality, you know what I mean? Where it's like, all right, you want to shun me away? Then, fuck it. This is the route I'm going to go. Instead of, coming to them with love and understanding and trying to, see both sides or whatever.
Yeah. I think this whole Kanye situation is like so multifaceted, and it's kind of like a mirror of ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah, kind of like a mirror of how we engage in this internet, this clickbait type of just speech. Speech itself is just turned into, how can I say the most potent thing in this little window of time?
Yeah.
To get this point across 100% strong, when some things need to be discussed. You got to communicate effectively,
Right.
Let's make sure we leaving ourselves open to ideas. Like, even if you come to the same conclusion that you're still against whatever idea it was, like, let's let's open up these conversations and try to be able to have these tough conversations. And let's not get caught up in our reaction and really sit and give ourselves time to form our own opinions and understand the energy we're taking in and dishing out.
Yeah. So
Yeah. I think
the last part.
What's the last part?
A post is not.
Got you. Sorry, I forgot.
That's my line.
That's your line?
You gotta put that in there.
You want that? You want that? I think you get to say.
No.
All right, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. A post is not a sit-in. A like is not a march. A comment is not a protest. A follow is not support. Your IG account is not the Underground Railroad, and you are no Harriet Tubman.
Oh my God. I love that. A post is not a sit-in, right? Like you did some work. Nigga, typed your little 140 characters or less.
Right?
Get out of here, yo.
It's 140 characters or less.
You put in the work.
Including spaces. How much time? How much are you getting off?
Right. That is so true, though. It's like, what do you do in real life?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm guilty of it. We guilty of it.
I mean, yeah, but you know some people go harder than others. And
right.
we all know those people. It's like, okay, if you're so for the movement and yada yada, like let's get some real life action. I love that.
Yeah. So I hope this was clear.
Crystal, man. I think so.
Crystal clear.
Mm-hmm.
We would love to get feedback on this one.
Yeah.
Please give us feedback on this one. This one's good.
Yeah. I think everyone can have something to say about this.
Yeah, I hope this starts the conversation.
I just don't want to hear no fuck y'all because y'all fuck with Kanye. Wait, what did Tyler, the creator, say? Fuck y'all, I love Kanye.
He said, I love Ye. Fuck y'all.
Right? Oh, man. But I think that we could also probably maybe post a clip of that interview, too, maybe at some point.
You know what?
Or provide a link.
Let me get this off real quick. And it's kind of like jumping back. But so one of the things that was brought to my attention, I think Jazz told me this. And it's almost like people aren't even mad at Kanye. Like they're not rebutting Kanye or coming for Kanye. They're coming for the religious following of Kanye. They're more mad about the people that just defend them without no question, or just say slavery is a choice, man. That's a genius remark or something like that. Or just call him a genius.
I definitely did want to touch on that. Yeah, I feel that. Because like it's like whether you fuck with him or not, you know that was like problematic the way he said it. But yes, those people that were just like, well, like what?
Well, no. Those people. So I think the reaction was more poised to those people that were just saying nothing wrong with the statement. And were just fanning out. Was fanning out, happy they were getting new music.
But then it was like, even he said he was wrong for saying that. So what's up with y'all? Like,
but check this out. Check this out though. He said he was wrong for saying that. They probably heard that. You know, the fans of all fans probably heard that. But the people that shunned him, the people that haven't listened to the album yet, the people that were totally done with Kanye, the people that said, F me and your free thinking, did they come across that interview? Did they open themselves up? Yeah. Did they open themselves up to see somebody? And have we become a society that just doesn't accept apology?
I don't know. Well, you have to go searching for that apology. I think that's the thing, because there's no, like, really none of the popular, like, celebrity gossip pages are really posting it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's not like anybody's really coming across it. Like, you got to kind of look for it. So I think that's why. I think if people heard that, they would have a change of heart.
Yeah.
Most.
I would hope so. I would hope people just aren't banished for the rest of their lives off of 4 words. Off of some dumb shit. Like, if somebody judged me off of shit I said, dumb shit. Yeah. Judge me off of something I said? Shit. Shit. I think that's it for this episode, man.
Yeah. This is good.
Right? Alright, I hope we don't get no backlash.
Man, bring it.
We want all the static. All right, y'all.
All right.
We out.
Peace.
Yeah.